All right, sweet. Welcome to the Night Hunting Podcast. I am your host, Tony Abreu, and the Night Hunting Podcast is basically a podcast dedicated to night hunting, and it's all about night hunting and for night hunters. So this is episode number 20. Oh, let me get that out of there. Excuse me. So this is episode number 20. And in this episode, we are going to be talking about using a binocular while night hunting. So I kind of messed up because I didn't grab my binocular. Give me 1 second. All right, using a binocular while night hunting. So basically, night hunting, when I first started out, funny story, I bought a night hunting. It was just a night vision scope from ATN. And what it was it was heavy, no lie. And then it ran, excuse me, off of AA batteries, and the batteries did not last very long at all. So then I got a 20 milliamp hour battery pack, which I still have somewhere. Heavy, heavy thing. I mean, probably the size of a brick, and it ran the scope for a long time, no doubt. But once I had the scope mounted to a AR-15, a long barrel AR-15, with a pouch on the stock with that battery on there and the scope on top, I swear it weighed like 17 pounds. So it was so hard. I couldn't even freehand shoot the thing. Like, it was so hard to just even hold up. Now, don't get me wrong. Basically, I'm not a muscle man like some of these other guys. I mean, back in my 20s, I was definitely very fit, but right now I'm 46 years old, and basically, I'm not the fittest person in the world, although I do work outside in 100-degree heat in the summertime, which is where it is right now. I drink over a gallon of water a day, but it's still hard to hold up a 17-pound gun without using the rest or whatever. So the point to that is that I love using monocular while night hunting. So right now, currently, I'm using this monocular, which is an AGM Fusion 640. They make they make a couple different models of these, but this one has an LRF in it. So it's got a laser rangefinder that runs out to 600 yards. This is actually an optical, which runs night vision, and then this is a thermal. So they call it the Fusion because at some point it actually fuses a thermal image with an optical image. But in order to use an optical image, it doesn't have a light on it, an infrared light. So you need basically an infrared light to help with the optical if you run it that way. So for me, I don't really use that. I mean, I like this because number one, it's under $3,000, which I know that's a lot for a monocular for some people. I mean, it's not. The first monocular I ever sold was a $4,000 640 Helion by Pulsar. It is way bigger than this, but I'm telling you, it is an amazing monocular, but probably twice as long, twice as wide, but just an amazing image, and you can see really far with it. So this one is a 640 unit. It's, priced at on the upper end of, 28, like somewhere upper end of 2000s, under 3000 though. And to me, this is really good for the money because it has the rangefinder on it and it's 640. And you really can't hardly even find a monocular under $3,000 with 640 in it. But to have a rangefinder included just makes it that much better, in my opinion. Sometimes the rangefinder is hard to use if you're just holding it up, because if you're trying to range out to 600 yards, it's very easy to move it. So it's hard to get on target without holding two hands or resting on something. But still, it's good to have the rangefinder if you can. And AGM has a lot of cool products. So the reason why I like using a monocular while night hunting is because, number one, I don't like swinging a rifle around the whole night. This just makes it way more easy and way more effortless to swing this thing around. And then if you find something to jump into your rifle. Now, right now I have a night vision. Basically I have a Sightmark Wraith 4K Max that I'm running on an air rifle, and which I don't use that I just bring that with me because I'm trying to shoot something under 50 yards with it, to just to test out the 55 grain 25 caliber bullet that I'm shooting and to see if it'll do it. But so I don't really use night vision all the time, but I do have night vision, and I started out with night vision. And my recommendation, if you were going to have night vision and you can afford it, get a monocular, because it will totally help you find things that you will not be able to see with the night vision. And a perfect example of that, whenever I first, back into the earlier days, I used to do a lot of deer depredation hunting. And the first monocular that I ever bought was again, an AGM. There's a couple different manufacturers that make monoculars, but basically, which, when I say different manufacturers, AGM, Pulsar's been making monoculars forever. And then Iray or Infraray, they actually have a couple of monoculars. They have actually one with a manual, with an optical zoom, which is really cool. And then I'm sure there's other companies as well. But for me, I like the AGMs because, number one, they are on the lower price point and they're very compact on the lower end, and you get a lot for your money. So the first one I ever bought was like $500. It was only a 160 resolution core, which is not very good. It barely, like, you could barely get out to, I mean, I might have seen heat source over maybe 200 yards one time, but it was a group of pigs, but it was really hard to see. Generally with a 160, which is, they probably sell them for like $400 now, but the 160, you're probably going to get somewhere around 100 yards or less. But that's not a bad thing, because if you are just hunting out of a blind and you were in the complete darkness and you just wanted to, use it just to see if there was something at your feeder so that you could spot check it with your night vision, that's perfect. And the first time I ever used it, I was sitting on the ground, in a, what kind of field? It was a bean field. So I was on the edge of a bean field, and I had the monocular, and then I had a tripod set up in front of me with my night vision scope. And it wasn't even dark yet, so I didn't have to use night vision, but I was switched into night vision because in lower light conditions, the night vision picks up a little bit better until you need your light, and then you just turn on your light and it illuminates everything. But I was using this thing, and I had about 100-yard shot, and I basically picked it up to scan, and I seen deer coming out into the field before they came out to the field, before I could even see them with my naked eye. And as soon as I saw that, I jumped in the scope, and as soon as they came out into the field, boom, I shot. So to me, having a monocular is just, especially a thermal monocular, is just so much easier. Now, there are monoculars that they have that are night vision monoculars, and most of those are going to come with an integrated infrared light on them. And most of those that have the infrared light, they just don't go that far. So I'm not saying that's a bad thing. If you want to get a monocular to reach out further, you're going to have to add a bigger light to it, which is going to add more weight to it. So, basically, a unit like that is only going to be good for so much, as for so much distance, but it's definitely doable. And sometimes it's good to have a night vision monocular, just because if you're hunting around houses and there could be dogs mixed in that A blue healer kind of looks like a coyote in a thermal. So sometimes having like night vision, just having access to it sometimes to ID things is not a bad thing. But for me, I like the thermal aspect of it. Um, the 160 core was like, $500. Now it's like 400. And then they have a little bit better core. They have basically your 384s is, well, probably around like 1300, something like that. And then they make really good compact monoculars for that. Fits right in your hand. It's probably about that long. I've done reviews on them on my Perceptive Outdoors channel, and those are super cool. They're super compact. They have tons of features. They record. They go through the different color palettes. They can actually stream to a tablet, or how you could put it on a light, mount it on a vehicle, and stream it to your phone. Like, you could drive with it. I mean, I definitely drive with it. They have 1.5 power, which to me is good for driving. This unit is a 2 power, which is still good for driving. It's not super wide, but it's not super zoomed in either, which is easy to drive with without getting you super dizzy. And I totally use that thing to drive all the time. And when I say drive, most of the time I'm hunting off of a golf cart. So, we're in the cart. We don't run lights at all. Generally, we can see with moonlight, or we're around cities a lot, so we can see with city light. But there's times when you get, just whenever you need it. And I definitely use it to scan on the golf cart, so I'm not having to pick my rifle up and scan it. Now, back to the story of having the long, heavy rifles. Well, I went to a 300 blackout after that. It was still super heavy. And then, I bought a pistol before all this crazy pistol brace stuff came out. But I bought a pistol through, I've actually built a 10-inch 300 blackout pistol. And then I also built a 12-inch 6.5 Grendel upper to go on that same pistol. And before any of this stuff ever came out, I went ahead and SBR'd that rifle right away so that I didn't have to deal with none of that, which I've already done it. And I'm glad I did, because I don't worry about it. So right now, my go-to is a 6.5 Grendel. I'm running a 640 thermal unit on that as well. And it's easy to swing around in the golf cart because it's short. Even though it's suppressed, it's still short enough and it's light enough. But I would still rather leave it in my lap and scan with the monocular than I would to scan with the gun. So the 384s start around, on the AGMs, they start around 1300 and they go all the way up to 2000. There's a 256 model that's basically 1,000 and under, between 1,000 and 750. Those are going to get you a little more range than the 160s, but they're not going to be as clear as the 384s. To me, the 384s are perfect for the beginner. You get lots of range on there. The matter of fact, the one that I had for the longest time was just a 1 power, and I could ID deer at 600-700 yards with that thing, no problem. So I actually, use a lot of these. I use them, review them, and then sell them. So now I'm with this one. But and I totally like the 640 as well. Since then, AGM has came out with a new model called a Sidewinder. It's actually quite a bit bigger than all the ones I've talked about, but has a better detail in it as far as like the millikelvin, which actually helps pick up in different foggy conditions and stuff like that. I have not put my hands on those, but those start at like $2,000. And to me, I mean, I'm sure they're great units, but I like compact. So I'm already carrying around a ton of gear as it is. I'm hanging this thing around my neck. I don't want to hang something bigger than that around my neck. So that's just me. But using a monocular is such a benefit at night for the reason of, like I said. Now, let me go to instances where a monocular has definitely been a good thing for me. So number one, we hunted a property one time, quite a few, I'm going to say almost an hour from here. It was maybe not the first time we hunted, but the second time it could have been the first. I can't remember exactly. There were three, maybe even four people on my cart. So I'm driving. I have my rifle in my lap. My buddy's next to me. I actually have a shooting bar across my. I used to have a windshield on my cart that I used to lay guns on and shoot, but then I took that off because it was really noisy. I basically put an L bracket across there, an aluminum L bracket across right where the windshield was, and then I have um, foam wrapped with tape around it, so it's really quiet. And we were riding through. Now we weren't in a field, so it was super dark, but we were actually riding through woods that connected one field to another, and it was pretty thick and it was really dark. And we were riding through there, and basically, I'm using the monocular as much as I can. And right before we got out into the field, I looked up and a dog came right into the opening to where we were about to exit the field. And as soon as we did, I stopped the car and said, "Dog, dog, dog." And my buddy pulled up on the rack and shot him. So, it's not always about calling dogs for us because we're out in different places trying to lower the numbers of coyotes no matter where we go, because there's just too many of them and we don't want them there anyway. So we don't use the fur. We're just helping farmers. We're just helping the deer leases, and that's all we really do with them. We're just getting rid of them. So, boom, that one took him down. Another instance, we were on another deer lease and we were riding through again another spot to go from a field to another spot that opened up. And we were going down the road, and I happened to look up, and all of a sudden, boom, another dog just crossed in front of us about 100 yards up. We stopped the cart. Everybody got off. Everybody set up tripods, and I put the call on top of the cart. Um, and basically, I just started hitting like a little distress call, and the dog came back out, and boom, got shot. So the whole point is that we ride around with no lights on, and the monocular is a game changer just for even spotting stuff. Um, so definitely, if you're running night vision and you want the extra advantage of spotting something, definitely good to have a monocular. But also, if you're just walking around or even driving around, using it to keep yourself from getting so tired from swinging the rifle around is definitely an advantage. And to me, we put all our, like, whenever we go somewhere, we basically throw everything on the cart, which is tripod, rifle, air rifle. My buddy has a rifle. Oh, he has his call. I have my call. I got a cooler with a couple drinks on it because it's super hot right now, even at night. But even whenever it's not, I've been out before and been so thirsty. So I always bring water now. And then I also have a box of bullets. I have an extra magazine for the rifle. I have a box of bullets for the air gun. I have spare batteries for the monocular. I have spare batteries for the scope, on top of the thermal scope. I have extra battery for the night vision light. So I have all this stuff, and just to be walking around with that, carrying all that stuff would be such a pain, and the golf cart just definitely helps with all of that. But like I said, most of the properties we hunt are big enough to where we can just drive, stop, get off the cart, call, get back on, move, and just kind of keep moving through the property, and doing what we do. So I definitely like a monocular. I definitely recommend a monocular. Now, if we're talking about other brands, Pulsar definitely used to have a lot of compact monoculars. They have since, and I believe they had some for around like maybe 1300 or something like that, a smaller one, but they definitely didn't have like, some of them didn't record. I mean, it just didn't have what the AGM has always had. And to me, the AGM just always had the best. It just has great features and it has everything you need. And then even like I hand it to my kids all the time and they look through it and they can see just fine. So it's not super complex to run. And by the way, if you have kids or you have guests with you, and I keep a tablet on my card as well. Like whenever I go, I have a cup holder for the tablet, and I'll turn it on and I'll stream I'll stream the monocular to the tablet just so other people can see what I'm seeing through the monocular or through the scope the same way. So, and also it helps to have, another set of eyes. So definitely a game changer. Definitely, something that I recommend if you can afford it. If you can't afford it, I would definitely try to save for one. Let's go into even more besides night hunting. So back in the day, I used to hunt this one 400 acres, and it was lots of farm. It was like 250 maybe acres of farm field, and then it had like 150 acres of woods. And I had permission to deer hunt that year, which is the last time the last year that this person had it. And I got on my golf cart, and basically I was using a night vision scope, which just using it in day vision. And the first time I went in there, I went in, and right off the bat, I seen a coyote. Um, I brought my light, the night vision light, but whenever I went to turn it on, the batteries were dead, so I couldn't shoot the dog, and I would have shot the dog because, again, there's so many dogs in that area, and like we're just trying to keep the numbers down. So anyway, so that dog kind of runs off, and I just keep on going. He doesn't even know I'm there really, but he kind of runs off. He knows something's there, but he doesn't really know it's me. So I go around the corner, and I go further down, and I finally get to where I park the cart, and I look up again, and boom, there's another dog, and it's not the same dog. It's a different dog. And I'm like, what the heck? So at this point, I see him. He doesn't see me, but I get off and I grab my stuff and I start walking towards my stand. And the thing is that, you know, if I wouldn't have had that monocular, I would have never seen those dogs. And the same thing goes for, like, if you're trying to hunt a specific stand, and monoculars are legal, to have one is like a huge advantage, because especially, opening day, most of the time people want to get in super early, and just knowing if something's in front of your stand or not gives you a huge advantage. Because what if you're walking up to your stand and it's in plain sight, or it's, it makes a lot of noise to get up there, and there's something at your feeder, and you see it, and you just stop and kind of wait it out, and make sure that you're not going to spook it off. But if you didn't have that, if you didn't have a monocular, you would never know it was even there. So just gives a huge advantage if it's legal. Now, in some states, it's not even legal to like Alabama. I'm pretty sure not even allowed to have a thermal device whatsoever during hunting season. At least that's how it was the last couple of years, even though they just opened up um they opened up night hunting in the last couple of years. But I was going to go up there last year and I never made it. And I was researching, like kind of doing some research on that, and they said you're not even allowed to have a thermal device while you're deer hunting. So that's cool. It's just good to always know your laws. But I know you can have them in Georgia, and I know you can have them in Florida, and definitely a cool advantage. So that's going to pretty much wrap up the section on, using a monocular. I definitely recommend it. AGM has a lot of cool products. And if you don't know, or maybe this is your first time watching this, this podcast is sponsored by my website, which is Perceptive Outdoor Gear, or perceptivegear.com. We sell night vision and thermal optics there, from monoculars to rifle scopes. And basically, I'm a small business. I've been doing this since 2020 as far as having my store. I do it on the side right now because it just doesn't pay enough to do it full time. But it's definitely something I love, and I love helping my friends, and I love helping people, get into this stuff and learn about it. And I'm definitely way up on it. I try to hunt once or twice a week if at all possible. And I just wanted to plug that because that's basically why I do this podcast. So the next segment here, we usually talk about what's going on with me. So earlier I told you that my go-to is the 6.5 Grendel, and I'm running basically an AGM Rattler 640 on that, which is a super compact thermal scope. It's a 2-power scope, 2-power base magnification, and it's a real light rifle, but packs a pretty good punch. The reason why I like 6.5 is the Grendel is because basically it's one of the most high powered, it's one of the most heavier hitting ones you can get in an AR-15. I mean, there's definitely more powerful, but I don't just hunt coyotes. I hunt pigs and deer as well. And the 6.5 does really good on pigs, and it does really well on deer as well. So a lot more than a 223, which I have as well. But I just don't use it as much because I love my shorty. I call it my shorty because it's just super short, you know. So, and then also, like I said earlier, I'm carrying around another super short, but it's basically an Air Force Talon 25 caliber PCP air gun, and I'm shooting 55 grain hollow point slugs out of that thing, and I'm really trying to basically get in where I can get a 50-yard shot on a coyote and a pig, and see if it can get the job done. So that's pretty much what's happening right now. A couple weeks ago, 2 Saturdays ago, actually, or yeah, 2 Saturdays ago, we went out to a buddy's property. I shot a coyote in the chest at 200 yards and with the Grendel, and it dropped him on the spot. And then we went out on Thursday night. We went, me and my buddy who I hunt with a lot. I'm going to call his name G. He lives on quite a few acres. There's quite a few acres that butt up there as well, and then he's kind of related in the family. And we went out and we went to a property that we've been going to for a while. That's down the road. He's good friends with, and basically grew up with him. And it's about 90 acres. And when we went there, everything was super grown up. They had millet planted in the field where we normally kill the coyotes, which is all the way down in the bottom. And then the third field was super grown up, which is how we would get down to the bottom where we normally kill dogs. The second field was super high with grass because they were about to pick the grass soon. And then the first field was high as well. And basically, we went all the way down to where we thought where we called dogs before the last time, and actually had the best chance of shooting one. And we couldn't see nothing. So, because it was so tall. So we backed out of there and went back out and went back towards where we came in at, to the shallower fields. And as soon as we did, a coyote came from across the road. Actually, it's kind of funny. Yeah, as soon as we did, a coyote came from across the road and was walking down the trail where we came back out, which wasn't really a trail. And I'm pretty sure he winded where we were, because I'm pretty sure he smelled the golf cart. And we could never get him to stop or call or come or nothing. And then an ambulance came down the road, and basically a dog howled across the road, which is the same part of the same property. And we called and called and called and just couldn't get nothing to come. So we loaded up, we went back to the truck, we went back to his property, and we rode around into a spot. And actually, as soon as we were getting to his gate, my wife's uncle's property is right there as well, and they have a huge watermelon shed there. And as soon as we were going, I happened to see White out his window. I was like, there's a dog right there. And it actually was 2 coyotes. They were about to cross the road in front of us, and we stopped the truck immediately. He jumped out, and the dogs were running back towards the house. We couldn't really get a shot on them. So then we go park. We go back down to where we saw the dogs. We went back across the road where we see a lot of dogs. We called and called and called, and nothing really happened. And so then we left out of that field and went all the way back up past his house on the south end, and went riding through. And we went to call another spot. And as we were riding to get to the spot, again, I'm using the monocular to drive. It's super dark, and I'm trying not to run over stuff. There's high grass once again. There's a huge oak tree. There's some water puddles next because of the rain. And I happen to look over to my left, and I happen to just see basically what I feel like is a dog laying in the grass, but it's super high. And all I could see was his ears and the round part of his head. And it looked like he was facing the other way. So So we sit there and he don't hear us because we're super quiet. And I don't know how far away he is. He's probably 70, maybe 50 to 70 yards away. And by that time, I pull up my rifle to look, and my battery's dying in my rifle. So I can't really change him out that quick, but he gets down, puts his tripod up, and starts trying to look. And so then I start doing that, and nothing. And about 2 3 minutes later, I look over at about 100 yards down, and he's running up a fence line. And my buddy G shoots him, and he wounds him up pretty good. And he kind of runs out into another field, and we finally pull up there, and he he actually he was down, and he got back up, and then I shot at him, and I don't even know if I hit him. It was like 120 yards. I mean, as soon as I shot, he fell down. So it was kind of weird. And we finally we called at that spot for a little while, and finally we went over there and got a picture with him. And he had kind of shot him back a little bit, so he was real slow to go down. But at the same time, we couldn't find a bullet hole for me. But it's the weirdest thing. As soon as I shot, he fell down. It was the weirdest thing. Like, it's just like I hit him. I don't know, weird things happen like that sometimes. I mean, one time I shot a dog at like 20 yards right in the chest, and he totally fell down, totally died, and we could not find a bullet hole to save our life. And it was with the Grendel. It's the weirdest thing sometimes. But anyways, so we ended up getting that dog, and that was pretty much it. It got pretty late pretty quick, and we went ahead and wrapped it up. But it was still a fun night, and that's pretty much what's going on now. As soon as, because a couple things that I want to point out. So it's just at the end of July. So right now, like, you got to think that with all the rain that we've had, everything is super high grown. So it's like, if you have cow pastures and the cows are constantly eating the grass, that's cool. But even still, it's pretty high. Like, it was high everywhere we went. And it just makes it really hard. And if you just have night vision and you're hunting in high vegetation, it's way harder to even find stuff. So the thermal's going to give you a better advantage there no matter what. And there's still times where you can only see like the top of a coyote's head, or a top, just his ears. I mean, it depending on how high the grass is, but the closer they get, the easier they are to see. So that's one thing. Also, right now with all the rain we've had and stuff, there's a lot of people cutting hay, which, by the way, is a great time to go after dogs, because they're always going to come in there and try to find stuff in the grass. Also, as soon as we did that hunt at the first place, my buddy told me that he was going to be in that place the next day with a combine getting grass seed. So, and a lot of grass seeds getting chopped or harvested right now because everything's so high, and they need to let it grow high so they can get the grass seed because they sell it. So, just certain things, data points to take notice of right now, the end of summer. The cool part is that I saw one of the owners of that property at church on Sunday, and they said that they chopped it so it's low again. So if we get a chance to go back on Thursday night, we'll probably go hit it again, because that's a great spot. And I have video of at least 8 dogs in one frame at that place. Now, we've definitely killed quite a few there since then, but at the same time, there's a lot of dogs in that area. And there's fields, there's woods, there's just a lot of places for them. There's a lot of food there. So definitely, something that we want to just keep trying to hit, but without overhitting it. And that's what we do. We just try not to overcall it. And we definitely hit it sporadically, and it works. So another property that we were going to go to that night, which is quite a few, I think it might be 80 to 100 acres. I'm not sure exactly the number on that, but we were going to go there. And my buddy said that his son said that it's not no really use to go there because there was nothing but high corn and high grass everywhere, and you wouldn't be able to really see anything. So it's just not really, it's harder to hunt roads and stuff than it is to hunt open fields, in my opinion. So unless, if you're hunting a deer lease, now that's a whole different story. but farms, definitely the open fields are the ticket. So that's pretty much going to wrap up this episode. If you like this kind of stuff, definitely drop a thumbs up. If if you have a question or even want to drop a comment, definitely drop a comment below. If you want to see me talk about a certain something on a certain episode, definitely drop a comment below. If you haven't subscribed yet, definitely subscribe. I'm trying to build this for everyone, and it's just all stuff that I can talk about, that it's all content, and it's all generally tailored around one topic, and there's tons of topics to talk about. So I appreciate you watching. If you you know if you're around next Tuesday night around 9 o'clock, I usually try to do this around 9 o'clock on Tuesday nights, and the format may change in the future. I'm not sure, because this is not getting the traction that I want, although we are getting some views. But yeah, share it. And if there's, like I said, if there's something you want me to talk about, we can do it. So thanks for watching,